The crystalline command chamber of the Velkarion flagship Eternal Dominion hummed with anticipation as holographic displays painted the darkness with streams of intercepted data. Commander Velzath's 4 arms moved in practiced rhythm across the tactical interface, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the amber light. His compound eyes, evolved for tracking prey across the hunting grounds of his homeworld, now fixed on something far more intriguing than any quarry he had ever pursued. Fascinating, he rumbled, his voice a harmonic blend of tones that resonated through his thoracic chambers. These, humans. Their technological progression defies all predictive models. The data streams told an impossible story. In less than a century, this species had progressed from crude flying machines to orbital stations, from simple radio waves to quantum communications, from chemical rockets to fusion drives. Their probe signals, intercepted at the galaxy's edge, carried the unmistakable signature of a species accelerating toward spacefaring capability at a pace that violated every known developmental curve. Sir, his aide, a slender Kethmori with silver skin that rippled like liquid mercury, approached with reverent caution. The High Command's response to your report has arrived. Velzath's mandibles clicked, a sound of satisfaction among his people. The message materialized in the air before him, the seal of the Galactic Velkarion Empire burning bright before dissolving into words that made his 3 hearts beat faster. By order of the Supreme War Council, System Sol, 3 designated as Priority Target Classification, Worthy Adversary. Fleet Deployment Authorized. Objective, Subjugation through Glorious Combat. Expected Resistance, Significant. Glory Quotient, Maximum. For the first time in decades, Velzath felt the old thrill of anticipation. The Empire had grown stagnant, its conquests too easy, its victories too hollow. Most species surrendered after a single demonstration of force, begging for the mercy of incorporation into the Empire's vast hierarchy. But these humans, their intercepted transmissions spoke of endless wars among themselves, of a species that seemed to thrive on conflict and innovation born from desperation. Prepare the fleet, Velzath commanded, his voice carrying across the bridge. All 600 vessels. We sail for Sol. 3 months later, Admiral Kira Trask stood in the zero-gravity command center of Earth's orbital defense platform Prometheus Station, watching the impossible unfold on her screens. The alerts had started as whispers, gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system, then radiation signatures unlike anything in human databases. Now, as the long-range sensors painted their story across the tactical displays, she felt a cold certainty settle in her chest. They were not alone, and they were not welcome. 600 contacts and counting, reported Lieutenant Chen, her voice tight with controlled panic. Mass displacement suggests vessels ranging from frigate class to. Jesus, Admiral, some of these readings are showing ships the size of small moons. Kira's fingers moved across her command interface with practiced precision, years of naval training taking over where her mind struggled to process the magnitude of what she was seeing. The fleet hanging at the system's edge was a geometric impossibility, too organized, too vast, too purposeful to be anything but a military force. Comms, patch me through to Brussels, Moscow, Washington, Beijing, everyone, she ordered. Priority Alpha emergency protocols. And get me a direct line to the Secretary General. The response came faster than she had expected. Within minutes, her screen flickered to life with the faces of Earth's leaders. Men and women who had spent decades arguing over borders and resources, now united by the simple fact that borders meant nothing when measured against the void. Admiral Trask, Secretary General Martinez spoke first, his usually calm demeanor cracked by strain. What are we looking at? First contact, sir. And it's not friendly. Kira highlighted the tactical display, showing the alien fleet's formation. Military organization, deliberate positioning at maximum effective range of our defense platforms. This isn't exploration, it's an invasion fleet. Before anyone could respond, every communications array on Earth and in orbit suddenly crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The signal was impossibly strong, broadcasting simultaneously across every frequency, in perfect English, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, and dozens of other languages. The face that appeared on their screens was both alien and disturbingly familiar. Humanoid enough to read emotion, alien enough to inspire instinctive fear. Commander Velzath's compound eyes fixed on the camera with predatory intensity. People of Sol 3, whom you call Earth, his voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to bypass the ear and speak directly to the brain. I am Commander Velzath of the Galactic Velkarion Empire. Your species has drawn our attention through your rapid advancement and promising potential for conflict. Kira felt her jaw clench. There was something in the alien's tone, not contempt, but anticipation. Almost, excitement. We have conquered 1,732 worlds, Velzath continued. Most surrendered upon witnessing our power. Some resisted briefly before accepting the inevitable. But you intrigue us. Your history speaks of endless warfare, of innovation born from desperation, of a species that refuses to yield even to impossible odds. The alien commander leaned forward, and for a moment, Kira could swear she saw something like respect in those compound eyes. We offer you what we have offered no other species, the honor of true battle. Resist us. Show us the strength that built your civilization from the ashes of countless conflicts. Prove that you are worthy of our attention. The transmission cut to black, leaving Earth's leaders staring at empty screens in stunned silence. President Chen of the Pacific Alliance was the first to speak. Did they just dare us to fight them? That's exactly what they did, Kira confirmed, her tactical mind already spinning through possibilities. And I think they're expecting us to lose. Secretary General Martinez's voice cut through the rising babble of voices. Admiral Trask, what are our chances? Kira looked at the tactical display, 600 alien warships arrayed against humanity's hastily assembled defense fleet of 47 vessels, most of them converted civilian craft pressed into military service. The math was simple and terrifying. Honestly, sir. By any conventional analysis, we're dead. She turned to face the screen, meeting the eyes of every world leader simultaneously. But these aliens made one critical error. Which is? For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Kira Trask smiled, an expression that would have made Velzath's 3 hearts skip a beat if he could have seen it. They told us exactly how much they're looking forward to this fight. That means they don't know the first thing about human nature. She straightened, her voice carrying the authority that had made her the youngest admiral in Earth's unified defense forces. When someone expects us to lose, we have a tendency to disappoint them. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. Earth's fractured nations, locked in generations of mistrust and competition, began to move as one. Factories retooled overnight, converting from consumer goods to weapons of war. Research teams shared classified technologies without hesitation. Military forces that had spent decades preparing to fight each other suddenly found themselves training together. The aliens had given humanity something it had never possessed in its entire history, a common enemy and a unified purpose. The die was cast, and Earth prepared for war. The first battle shattered every assumption Commander Velzath had held about human combat doctrine. The attack came not from Earth's defensive positions, but from the asteroid belt, a swarm of modified mining drones retrofitted with improvised weapons, piloted by miners and engineers who had volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. They struck the outer perimeter of the Velkarion fleet with no coordination, no tactical formation, and absolutely no regard for their own survival. Impossible, Velzath muttered, watching his tactical display as human ships literally rammed themselves into Velkarion destroyers, their pilots detonating jury-rigged nuclear charges at the moment of impact. No species fights like this. Where is their command structure? Their battle doctrine? His tactical officer, a veteran of 50 campaigns, looked equally bewildered. Sir, they appear to be improvising. Every ship is operating independently, using completely different attack patterns. Our combat algorithms can't predict their movements. What Velzath couldn't understand was that the humans weren't following any doctrine at all. Earth's defense forces had analyzed the alien fleet for 3 days and reached a terrifying conclusion: conventional tactics would result in complete annihilation within hours. So they had abandoned convention entirely. The mining crews weren't trying to win, they were trying to learn. Every suicide attack transmitted data back to Earth, revealing weaknesses in Velkarion shield technology, gaps in their point defense systems, flaws in their formation tactics. The humans were conducting science experiments with their own lives as the test subjects. "Commander," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Trask's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from the bridge of the Prometheus station. Behind her, Velzath could see human officers working with calm efficiency despite the chaos of battle raging around them. "Commander Velzath," she said, her voice carrying a quality the alien had never heard in the voices of conquered species: confidence. "I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" Velzath's mandibles clicked in confusion. "For the tactical data. Your fleet's response patterns to our mining crews have been illuminating." Trask's smile was predatory. "We know how you fight now. And we know how to beat you." Before Velzath could respond, the transmission cut out, and his worst nightmare began to unfold. The human fleet that emerged from Earth's shadow bore no resemblance to anything in Velkarion tactical databases. Ships that should have been warships moved like fighters. Vessels that looked like cargo haulers suddenly bristled with weapons that defied classification. And leading them all was something that made Velzath's combat instincts scream warnings. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice tight with disbelief, "the humans appear to have built their command ship around a particle accelerator." The Prometheus station had been transformed. What had once been humanity's primary orbital research facility was now a weapons platform unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its massive particle acceleration ring, originally designed for deep space physics experiments, had been repurposed into a weapon that could punch holes through reality itself. The first shot from the Prometheus tore through 3 Velkarion dreadnoughts as if they were made of paper, the exotic matter beam ignoring shields, armor, and the laws of physics as the Empire understood them. Evasive maneuvers. Velzath roared, but it was too late. The humans had learned from their suicide attacks, had analyzed every response, and now they were exploiting weaknesses the Velkarion military had never known existed. What followed was not a battle, it was a demonstration of human adaptability in its purest form. Cargo ships revealed themselves as missile platforms. Research vessels deployed experimental weapons that turned Velkarion energy shields into conductors for their own exotic attacks. Even the civilian evacuation ships turned out to be decoys, broadcasting false sensor signatures while the real human fleet struck from angles that should have been impossible. The humans fought like no species in galactic history. They ignored honor, abandoned formation, and violated every principle of civilized warfare. They used their own ships as ammunition, their pilots as targeting systems, their desperation as a weapon more powerful than any technology. And they were winning. The moment that changed everything came when Lieutenant Sarah Chen, piloting a modified research shuttle, managed to breach the shields of Velzath's flagship through a combination of impossible flying and sheer audacity. Her ship, loaded with every improvised explosive the human engineers could devise, detonated against the Eternal Dominion's primary reactor housing. For the first time in his military career, Commander Velzath felt something he had never experienced: the possibility of defeat. As emergency systems screamed around him and his flagship listed helplessly in space, Velzath made a decision that would echo through galactic history. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Trask. "Human Admiral," he said, his voice carrying a respect that had never before been offered to a non-Velkarion species. We have underestimated you." Trask's face appeared on his screen, framed by the smoke and sparks of her own damaged command center. "Yes, you did. Our combat doctrines, they speak of honor in defeat, of glory in worthy battle. You have provided both." Velzath's compound eyes fixed on hers with something approaching reverence. We request cessation of hostilities. You want a ceasefire? Trask asked. We want. Velzath paused, searching for words in a language that had never needed to express what he was feeling. We want to learn. Your species fights not just with weapons, but with something we do not possess. Something that turns impossible odds into victory. Admiral Trask was quiet for a long moment, studying the alien commander who had brought 600 warships to conquer her world and was now asking for mercy. When she finally spoke, her words carried the weight of a species that had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most unmistakable way possible. Commander Velzath, you came here looking for a worthy adversary. You found one. But what you didn't expect was that humans don't fight just to win battles. She paused, letting her words sink in. We fight to survive. And survivors don't accept ceasefires, they dictate terms. Behind her, Earth's battered but victorious fleet began to advance, and for the first time in the history of the Galactic Velkarion Empire, it was their ships that began to retreat. The message Earth sent to the galaxy that day was written in burning starships and impossible victories. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, as human ships moved to secure the alien fleet's surrender, Admiral Kira Trask allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The aliens had wanted to test humanity's strength. They had gotten their answer. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in unprecedented chaos. Representatives from over 300 civilizations filled the massive amphitheater on Nexus Prime, their varied forms creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones that the translation matrix struggled to parse. At the center of it all sat Commander Velzath, no longer the proud conqueror but now bearing the title of First Ambassador to the Human Territories, a position that had been created specifically because no existing diplomatic framework could handle what humanity had become. The reports cannot be accurate, declared Ambassador Thwss of the Hegemony, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into sharp rainbows. No single species expands this rapidly without imperial backing. Velzath's compound eyes tracked to the holographic display dominating the chamber's center. What it showed defied every model of galactic expansion the Council had developed over millennia. In 6 months, humanity had not only rebuilt their battle-damaged fleet, they had tripled it. Human ships now patrolled the outer systems of Sol, and their probe networks had already reached neighboring star systems. The data is verified, Velzath replied, his harmonic voice carrying new undertones of something his species had rarely felt, humility. Humanity has not merely recovered from our conflict. They have used it as a catalyst for advancement that should have taken centuries. The Kethmori representative, her silver skin rippling with anxiety patterns, spoke next. But their technology remains inferior to imperial standards. How are they? You misunderstand the nature of human warfare, Velzath interrupted, standing to address the full assembly. They do not rely on technological superiority. They weaponize adaptation itself. The chamber fell silent as Velzath activated his personal display, showing footage from the Battle of Sol that had become legendary throughout the Empire's military academies. Observe, human cargo vessels retrofitted with weapons in 18 hours. Research stations converted to military platforms using civilian manufacturing equipment. Their entire species united not through conquest or treaty, but through shared purpose. He paused, letting the images of impossible human victories play across the screens. They have turned disadvantage into doctrine. Chancellor Zekthal of the Core Worlds leaned forward, his massive bulk causing his hover platform to adjust with a whir of servos. What are you suggesting, Commander? I am suggesting that we have awakened something the galaxy is not prepared for. Velzath's mandibles clicked in what his species recognized as profound respect. The Empire sought to test humanity's strength. Instead, we taught them that they were no longer alone in the universe, and that they were strong enough to stand against us. The holographic display shifted, showing the latest intelligence reports from human space. Massive construction projects on Earth's moon. Industrial complexes being built in the asteroid belt. Most disturbing of all, human ships beginning to venture beyond their home system, not as explorers, but as a species that had learned the galaxy contained threats that needed to be met with strength. They are not expanding like conquerors, Velzath continued. They are expanding like survivors preparing for the next threat. And after facing the Empire, they know that threat will come. Ambassador Thyskar's crystalline form darkened with concern. Are you saying they pose a danger to the Council worlds? I am saying, Velzath replied, his voice carrying the weight of his recent education in human nature, that humanity has learned the most dangerous lesson possible, that they can win against impossible odds. And now they are preparing to never be surprised again. The chamber erupted in debate, but through the chaos, one fact remained clear. Humanity had not just survived first contact, they had announced themselves to the galaxy as a force that could not be ignored, conquered, or contained. In the depths of space, human ships moved between the stars, carrying with them the knowledge that the galaxy was vast, hostile, and full of civilizations that measured strength through conquest. They were no longer the isolated species that had once wondered if they were alone. They were the species that had proven they were ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had wanted to test humanity's strength. Now it would live with the cons.